government, through the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, issued a directive that all subscriber identity model cards should be re-registered spanning a 6-month period from October 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022, using the Ghana card. The move is meant to clamp down on the increasing threat of fraud and also to track down and monitor people who would use their phones to indulge in criminal activities. The re-registration exercise, which commenced from October 2020, has faced several challenges, including long queues at some centers and problems with the network of the service providers. This has led calls for an extension of the re-registration exercise. Our rounds took us to the MTN office at Alajo, where some registrants expressed satisfaction with the current state of the exercise.
So currently I'm at MTN office, and this is what is being required for the registration. Yes, ECOWAS identity card. You just have to take your ECOWAS identity card with you and do your registration as fast as possible. So we are here to have a conversation with them how far the registration is going.
So good. Just a little bit challenges that we are going through. At times we get everything that we want to get everything, but so far so good. It's going.
The first process by we using the unique code. Afterwards, what's next? The procedures.
I will have to take your passport picture. After that, I'll have to scan the card. I will scan the card
to see whether it's original
or not. So after that, I will have to take your biometrics. Your fingertips. After taking your fingertips, then I'll have to take your GPS, your digital address. After taking your digital address, then that will be all. Yes, please.
So that's the process. But is it not stressful, and then don't you face any challenges doing it for them?
No. We don't face any challenge.
In terms of network?
Well, the network, it has been solved. And we are working smoothly on it, so we don't face any problem with it.
So, some people have the voters registration card, and they really want to use that one to register. Some people don't have the ECOWAS card yet. So what happened to those people?
I think if you don't have the ECOWAS card, you cannot be registered. That's
strictly
ECOWAS card. The other cards cannot be registered. Only the ECOWAS card. So if you don't have it, unless you go in for some, before you can be re-registered. That's it.
So we saw how the process is. One part that got me was the digital address. So if right now our mothers, they are coming and then they don't even know what is called digital address. So can you please delve into that for them?
What I will say is, in every house, they've placed that digital address in every house. AMA did it. So it's a plate which they normally write. For instance, here like this, they write GA, then the number will follow. So in other areas, it differs. There's a difference. So in every house, that normal plate is there. So before you come here, you need to get that one before you can come here.
So what if the person didn't see it in front of the house and it got here? What will happen?
If the person didn't see it in front of the house and got here, unless you call to the house so that somebody gets it for you. Because if it is not in, it cannot be completed.
Can you do it on your phone, like quickly? Access it on your phone?
For instance, we had a problem. One person came here and said he didn't get it in his house. Some houses, unfortunately, didn't get it, don't have. There is an app, Ghana Post app. When you stand in front of the house and you post it, you see your digital address. Yes. So when you have that app, or if somebody have it, and the person stands in front of the house and operates it, you get your digital address there. So that one you can bring that one also. It's the same thing. Yeah.
However, Issa Sulemana is frustrated by what he described as uncaring attitude of his service provider.
But how are you more hano? A bimu empty for money arbitrary. Or mutimi ya MTN for no kazan sa mo register ye no obi wa asese yakaka na oya ma amfo ase to e pese MTN for ti asese se sa yakaka no mba ba be ye dia Masia no omo bedi because ye and ye sika. Ye disika ma omo. So what I say? And to some see and be change the NSA banners almost a year.
With Ubawi, and not pay Ubutambenalba.
Me bahati say 12 to 1.
Na unit say.
But on Crawford bebre.
So far, process na course there, a course of fast there.
I'm patrolling.
Muba, mo kutan kwala no ye was special treatment bi a de mama e bia o meye ntem na wakwa na. Kwala ni tay mo consider mo.
Patrolling.
A worker with Alajo branch of MTN, who is a worker at the MTN office, however, believes the exercise will be successful.
First question, the elderly people and the pregnant people, we have a package for them. When they come, we attend to them quickly so that they will go.
Okay.
So
that
the elderly and
if you have a baby or
normally if you have a baby and it doesn't, like the baby is not all that small, you also have to join the queue. Yes. No, for those breastfeeding, we take good care of them so that they will go early. So that's it. And the disabilities, we make sure we
for them, for their disabilities. We have a special if they walk in, we just do it for them.
And then talking about the 2-SIM registration, how would the person do it? If I have 2-SIM in case, would I pass the same process like one by one, or if I do the
one by one, the same procedure, one by one? Yeah.
The first one, I'll take my picture, everything, and then come again and take the second one.
You take the first one, you take your picture, you take your biometrics, everything. The second one, we do the same thing. If you are having 3 or 4 SIM, you do the same thing, process. That's it.
So immediately I join the queue and I get my 10. You do all.
You do all for you. Yes.
We want to know if you have a new SIM card. If I just bought the new SIM card, am I to register it instantly, or I'll go home maybe for some time before I can come and register?
With a new SIM, you have to go home 1 month time before we can re-register you.
They gave us only 3 months, so in case I bought the card maybe it's ending March, I bought the card in March, how am I going to do the registration?
Well, I think that one.
It has not come to that.
When we reach there, we'll cross it. But for now, what we know is when you buy a new SIM, we cannot register you on the re-registration unless a month time. So like if you buy the SIM around March and it will enter to the next month, that one, when we reach there, we'll cross it. We'll see what we can do.
Abano, any sister the abano. Simple. The only babu akwana is some tomboasi. Because you want to assemble a because we walk Ghana card go who be that. Nameko Masamu say Ghana card now. Who yes me we self abla empty office and I say wood office. Any fingerprints. I say fingerprint no. Okay, Ghana card na say say bi o. Enti se mobile babu akwana nyi sisi some ye no. Some tomboasi. Ya to so mienu. Say mo se mo be fa ai mo wa ma no friend say. Jom jaba kan ai Jom o se ni sika ni ate no. Mo wa ma ni no. Legality no. He say ya Ghana card anya yesem no. Mo twam a mo ba data se ye. Me buza ban no. Say ya Ghana card ni ya mo twala ni mo de no matter se ye. You see, another one more ya. Aya mo nyu timamfo ho. Na mo ndwen say nyina nko school ko du ba bia. Afi no man yesese. Mama mpre mo ho. Say ya ba bedi aban. E yam before we see NDC for year trentan. Bibi e be boa yen. A total effect e be nya fa so free so. Na boa man no nkan ko ntima ene ya omo e ba. Enye bibi aban ni na o party chairman nya be twam.
So mo twam no. They say chip no. I use this my register so we tell me don't block me there. That's my system no block it. If we say me no me blebe o, document blebe o, me swim side no, me card no kra. Me chip no na me dey bibia. And there's all block the cia no. That's what me block no. Nothing ko different lie. That's my use sa line bi ma. Some documents somebody kai na. me la na mo de la na na mo ndey neze anu ashagu
Morning say 8th of February
a straightforward message e man panifo ko ma say omo ndwenti mamfo kakra if you say omba no yen na wonto yesa o sa putupu de na mo ye no fa so be na so by end of day your lances or your passport your driving license and your I the do to abano when you na hu ni passport dia sa ga na ka da mo pekopa obi dey 2 years am I tinta so be twan line mo it's not making sense
tete dia no yam yanko sa system nim anu ko be nyina che wo mo no mo tibi nyini 200 ya kala say tibi yanko sa system nim yes o to baby out to baby 5 years to na ntia free akukuma se makosra be ma saba time men cry ana wonyi menya adwen
him say end of March or mobile block will same say one register
be do satan kra na me kra me ko Libya na me ni ha nti me enhyem ti me ha me wo se me kwa akoye
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the show. This is The Couch. My name is Amma Pratt. Now, this evening, our conversation borders around this re-registration exercise of our SIM cards, no calls day, and all matters arising due to this re-registration of our SIM cards. Now, the Ministry of Communications launched the National SIM Card Registration Exercise across the country on the 1st of October 2021. Now, the Subscriber Identity Model Registration 2011, that's the L1 2006, mandates network operators, service providers to activate your SIM card only after the subscriber registers the SIM as directed by the NCA. Now, tonight's show, will seek to highlight all of the issues that have come up, and will also attempt to answer all the questions and issues also that have come up, including, the essence of this re-registration, digitization, and how digital this process is, the effectiveness or non-effectiveness of the measures put in place by the NCA to ease congestion at the centers, all of the long queues and its consequence for COVID-19 and all the protocols, the slow pace, all of these issues, but most importantly, the no calls day, protest that is being organized and everything about that. Now, I am in absolutely no way qualified to have this conversation, and so I brought in somebody who can have this conversation in all her capacities, in her capacity as Deputy Finance Minister, but more importantly in her capacity as a Ghanaian, as a concerned Ghanaian who has views, informed views about the process and is willing to have a conversation. So my guest for this evening is Mrs. Mona Quartey. She's managing partner, BVM Advisory Services, and you know her as our former deputy finance minister. Also, we would also have the opportunity to speak with Dr. Adepa, on the issues involving COVID-19, because that's a whole conversation by itself. So we would speak to Dr. Adepa sometime this evening, as long as a voice pop from across. We just sampled views across Accra, so we will get to watch that also. So this evening, our conversation is the no call day and the SIM card registration exercise. Welcome, madam.
Thank you so much, Amma. It's like to be here.
It's good. Listen, you have no idea how excited I am. If I'm fumbling, it's excitement.
We both fumble together. Not to worry. You have company.
It's great to have you here. Thank you. Thank you for making time. Okay, so immediately, let's just go for the low-hanging fruit. The essence of this re-registration center.
Well, I'm sure most people know by now that the essence of first of all, the registration of SIM cards is something that was overdue. It's true that you register your SIM card when you get it in the first place, but this was a time to, as it were, scrub the register of SIM cards and make sure that the people who had it were the rightful owners, and were using it for the right purpose, and not for other purposes that we all wouldn't want them to. So we had the registration. I believe it was *404# or something. Right. And so a number of people have been able to do it. Now, Amma, if you recall, you had to do it with your Ghana card. Yes. That registration of the SIM card. And I believe that quite a number of Ghanaians have done it. However, it's not all Ghanaians who have the Ghana card. Less than 50% of Ghanaians have been able to get the Ghana card. And that is a critical item to be able to register your SIM card. So first of all, we don't even have all the people with Ghana cards, having Ghana cards, to even register their SIM cards. Now we talk about a part 2, re-registering. So you get your Ghana card, you register, and then now you have to re-register. And that involves physically or in person going to the telco's offices where your service provider is to to have your biometrics retaken, although your biometrics are already on the Ghana card. And this is where the concerned subscribers, which is the group that I'm part of, wish to raise that, listen, if you want people to go through this process, if NCA or the ministry and NCA want people to go through this process of re-registering their SIM cards, the issues are that, one, do we have a legal backing for this? Do we need a new backing for this? Or does the existing LI, which you referred to just now, the 2011 LI 2006, does that suffice? And that is up to the judges who will sit on the case that is coming up soon to decide whether it does or not. As for us, we're just putting our case forward. Is this necessary? And if indeed you need to have an in-person verification of your biometrics, is there a law to support it? So we're asking the question. In the interim, we are seeing that so many people are struggling to get this done. One, because they don't have a Ghana card. So first of all, they haven't even done the part 1 of the registry. When they do have the Ghana card, there are issues to do with little name changes and so forth. That one can understand. There are anomalies sometimes. You know, you may have been a Miss before you became a Mrs.
Right.
Or you changed your name a little here and there. Those are regular anomalies. But having to go in person to the telco's office, and we now hear that they've made it a little easier by being able to go to many other retail outlets to do so, which is fine. But the main issue, the crux of the matter, is that, one, is it safe to go and give your biometrics to these agencies when the biometrics has already been given to the National Identification Authority? And if you say you are validating against it, what is that process? You haven't shown us that process. In fact, I think the NIA came out recently, not sure how that validation process will go on. This morning I saw another notice from them, but they didn't confirm that they had the validation process in place, just to even assure us that, yes, the data that is being collected, the biometric, will be checked against this and will be confirmed. So there are a number of concerns. Right. We appreciate that cyber crime is real. But we know that it doesn't only happen on SIM cards and phones. It happens on computers too, which don't have SIM cards. So we need to look at this on a broader basis. We appreciate that this battle or this war has to be fought. But the way that we do it, the process, is where the concerned subscribers, mobile subscribers, have a cause to raise the issues. And it's not to create any bad blood, but it's to let the NCA and the ministry think through this process again and make sure that it's not disruptive, make sure that it's sound, and make sure that it hits target. Right. Whatever that target is, if it's to curb cybersecurity, that it cyber theft, that it does that. Because I recall Franklin Kujo of Imani even raising the issue of, will it really do that? Yeah, have we seen that happen anywhere else? Will it really do that?
He really writes extensively on it.
You know, what will be the full implications? But aside from that, we'll leave the judges to decide whether the laws are in place to do this. Then we go on to the issue of this in-person thing and if it's necessary at all.
Right. You bring up the law. I just wanted to read something. You know, just read it out.
Sure.
You don't have to comment. Comment if you want to.
No, I won't even comment because I'm not a lawyer.
It says here the law requires that all SIMs are registered. The law also empowers the NCA to register or direct and regulates the registration of SIMs, where the law gives power to a public body like the NCA to perform a function. It regulates the manner in which the power is exercised. First, the law requires that the power be exercised in accordance with, not in breach of law and the Constitution. This is known as the Legality Test. Secondly, the law requires that power be exercised fairly. This is known as the natural justice or the fairness test. Thirdly, the law requires that the power be exercised rationally and not arbitrarily or unreasonably. This is the Wednesbury test. The re-registration exercise is challenged on 2 grounds. 1, illegality. The power to register SIMs entails a duty to not breach any law or the Constitution protects privacy rights. Biometric data is personal information which is protected by the Constitution. No person or authority can collect, store, or use a person's biometric data without the backing of the law. This means that the NCA and the telcos cannot collect, store, or use the biometric data of a person without a law authorizing them to do so. Question: which law authorizes the NCA or the private foreign-owned telcos like Vodafone, MTN, etc. to collect, store, or use data of Ghanaians on such industrial scale? Reasonableness. The power to register SIMs also includes the power to re-register SIMs, but only when there's a rational basis for the re-registration. This means that the NCA must show that there's a reasonable basis for directing a re-registration having already registered the SIM. Secondly, the NCA must show that the manner in which the re-registration exercise is being conducted is the most proper manner possible under the circumstances. Now, what are the NCA's reasons for directing a re-registration of SIMs that have already been registered? Are the reasons rational? Is there a need to recollect, store, and use biometric data which is already in the hands of the state, that is the NIA? Is there a way to use the NIA biometric database for the re-registration rather than collecting and storing biometric data afresh? And all of these issues come up from the Francis Arthur NCA and telcos issue, which is what you say, that let's wait for the result to be. But
so that's the legality test that we are going through, and we'll find out whether we do need a new legal framework to support the re-registration or not. We'll find that out. The other part is about the process, and for me, my concern is always about the people. I mean, there's the law and there's the people. And when we look at the manner in which the re-registration has taken place, I think that almost everyone in Ghana admits that it has not been the best. It's been extremely disruptive. You've had to leave your work, you've had to leave your children, you've had to leave your family or whatever you're doing to go and stand in line. Equipment has had a lot of downtime. So it's just been very disruptive. In terms of soundness, we'll find out from the courts, what supports this. But I believe that NCA gave a response this morning. I read a response from the NCA where they said that the telcos and their agents would not be storing. They said they would collect, but they would not be storing. First of all, let's even discuss the collection process. I know some people have said that there's an app which allows you to do part 2 without going to the telcos. And whilst you are inputting data on the app, which requires the Ghana card, and like I said, less than 50% of Ghanaians have this Ghana card, and yet almost 94% of Ghanaians have SIM cards. So you can see the disparity there right away. But anyway, when they go to do this, and let us say they're able to use the app, they're savvy, tech savvy enough to use the app, and that's thanks to digitization and all of us learning IT. When they go to do it, they find out that they then have to scan their fingerprints. But what we are realizing when they do it is that they're taking a picture of their fingerprints. So they're not actually scanning it. So that in itself, one wonders if that is what is required by NIA. And we did see NIA through a leaked document, let's say, not too sure how this whole validation process was going to go about. This morning, we see NIA coming out to say, look, they're not against this. Nobody is saying that they are against re-registration. We are just saying, does it have legal backing, 1? And 2, if it has to be done, the critical item, which is the Ghana card, is not in the hands of all. It's in the hands of less than 50% of Ghanaians. And also the process of doing it, going in person. And if you do it at home using an app, are you doing it correctly? So you are just collecting this data by yourself, taking pictures, sending it on, and it can be validated. So most probably, Amma, you're going to get a message that says you are not properly registered. And then you will become harassed. Look how many man hours will go into trying to even resolve this issue.
But I have a question with even that process. Doesn't it then negate this whole two parts or two process or two phased exercise you are told us, because you are told of the initial parts being
which
has
to be registered anyway using your Ghana card.
Right. And we are told of the second part being where you have to physically go. And I thought of it as, because of my background, having worked in the bank before, I thought of it as something like a KYC, your customer, where your physical presence is necessary
to validate that indeed it is you.
Right. So now if we are now saying that we are using an app, doesn't that then work against that?
It does, because instead of actually doing a proper fingerprint scan, you're just taking pictures of the fingerprint, so it doesn't work really. Let's be honest with ourselves. That doesn't really achieve the goal intended, So we think that there are too many problems inherent in this re-registration situation, and for me, I believe that it stems from not all people, all Ghanaians, even having the Ghana card in the first place. So their biometric is not already with NIA. So when are they going to also get their Ghana card? So right now there's a rush for Ghana card, and then be able to take part 1 and then even try and do part 2.
Part 2.
And part 2 is fraught with issues even for the telcos, because many times the equipment is down, as I said earlier. So there are too many issues associated with this.
You just answered 2 of my questions before I even asked them. I was going to ask about how digital the process is. You've answered that, and also about the effectiveness.
It's digital for the first part, where you sat at home and did the *404# but for the second part,
absolutely
then it gets blown out.
Absolutely not. Also, the effectiveness of the measures put in place by the NCA to ease congestion at the centers. I think you've answered that.
I also want to add that I worry a little bit about that, in as much as letting more agents do this data collection eases the pressure with lines and social distancing and so forth. You mentioned something about KYC and working in a bank. Your data is very critical for you. I mean, your thumb, your fingerprint, you are the only one. It's unique to you. Once that gets into the hands of persons that it shouldn't, I agree that the LI has some punitive measures for if there are breaches and this data gets out. But all the same, you don't need that breach. You don't want your fingerprints to be in the wrong hands. Your fingerprints should be with police, with but not in anyone's hands. Because although they are agents, they're also persons. And we don't know how tech savvy they may be. I mean, in recent times, we've seen so much hacking in the financial world and all over. So when you talked about bank and fintech, it is worrying to see that almost any agent you can go to, and in fact they're doing it in the lorry parks, in churches, and mosques. I mean, come on, giving biometric data out at that point, I think that is worrying, and NIA should be concerned about the way and manner in which the data is being collected, which could even create a problem for what they already have.
I was just about to say that, because as it stands now, the way that the for lack of a better way to put this, I don't want to sound too technical, I don't want to sound too oversimplistic too, but the point is that the fraudulent activities that we are trying to curb take on so many forms that sometimes one wonders if the system itself is not part of the problem. Because I have a friend, speak about how some huge sums of money just went into her account, and suddenly she had an avalanche of calls,
and that was not simulated. That's computer.
Right. So sometimes you wonder if, where are they getting their information? Because sometimes it seems as though this can't be ordinary, so there's that already.
There's some syndication.
There's that already, and then now you're asking us to even give our biometrics into many hands, essentially.
Yes. So and if NCA says that they are not, the telcos and so forth and the agents are not storing it, then at what point, for me, a layperson, I'm not an IT expert, at what point are they doing the validation? You pick up my data today, my biometric data today. When do you validate? Do you validate immediately, and then how do you get rid? How do you discard my prints? or do you hold it for a week or so and batch before you go to NIA to cross-check? And it is during that time that there will be a need for some storage. I mean, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on some mainframe or it's some database, but you will store at some point.
At some point.
To say that you will not store that data that has been collected, I think it's not complete. It's being economical with the truth.
It sounds a little naive.
Yes.
For anybody to say that the information is not being stored.
It almost sounds that way. It almost sounds that
just
way.
a little bit naive.
Yes.
Because it would have to be
necessarily. It has to be stored somewhere. Even if it's for a few hours, it has to be stored somewhere.
Right. Okay. So now, the effectiveness of the measures put in place by the NCA.
Yes.
To ease, I think we've answered that with the first part.
Correct.
And all that. Now,
correct.
And this for me is perhaps the most important one for now, health-wise. This long queues at the registration centers, and the government, because perception is everything.
That's right.
Right, and how it looks for the government's commitment in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. Even before you comment on that, I would like us to first take Dr. Adepa's video.
Definitely.
Actually, no. Let's take a video from Madam Oslowusu.
Okay.
Our Minister for Communication. So, MCR, if you are ready, let's take this video from Madam Oslowusu to do with congested telco centers. If that makes
sense. Lack of social distancing, especially at a time like this.
Right. Let's take that video, and then we'll follow it up with the video from Dr. Adepa also. Stay with us, viewers. Stay with us.
No corona, no when you started with 2 cases, and now Dr. West, I do 79. It is not a joke. It will need me over Bayawaha. Me over Bayawaha, and who you say one plan now, that's what I want to find out. Is it more important than your life or your health? When you so Wahana to call fear. What they say we fear for you now. Obi on any better kamu. Obi on any great juma. Obi on any bakasa. Who bet me the asino? Go where ya boa no. One day. Auntie and for no wine. When the money down. Are these people observing social distance?
We try to get them to attend. It becomes a bit of a challenge. So most of the time.
So you leave them so that they congregate here and possibly infect each other. Because when you try to enforce it, it became difficult. So you abandoned it. A reputable company like MTN, you may enforce it inside your yard, but they're sitting here in a crowd. By the time they leave here and come inside, do you know whether they would have contracted the disease or infected somebody?
We need to observe strictly the protocols at the registration centers so that we will not spread the virus as much as possible. We also need to make sure that if we can, liaise with the Ghana Health Service to, escalate the vaccination at those centers. We can mount up, vaccination points for those who come, so that as they wait in the queue, they can also be vaccinating, and that will, be a two-pronged approach to the registration exercise. It will help keep tabs on everybody who comes there without a mask, without hand sanitizing, without washing of hands, to remember to do all those things. Well, Omicron is the latest variant, believed to have started somewhere in November in South Africa. But then we believe that, there were some parts of Europe that had recorded a few of the strains, but it was South Africa that reported most of the cases. And it has a predilection for the upper respiratory tract. So you see, that's why it spread very fast, faster than the Delta. However, it is a bit milder than Delta. So we did not see many cases being hospitalized like the Delta strain. But the thing is, because it spreads very fast, if we lose our guard or if we let our guard down and get a lot more vulnerable people infected, then the hospitalizations are also going to increase. So that is why we need to still be cautious about dealing with the virus, because it is respiratory, it is airborne. So as we speak, if we should be in an enclosed area for more than 15 minutes in a crowded place, we need to take a break, or better still have meetings outdoors, and then we, just like the registration exercise going on, we need to make sure that the social distancing, just like any upper respiratory disease, it may start with a headache, it may start with a runny nose, maybe joint pains, or generalized bodily weakness. We are not seeing the loss of taste and loss of smell like we used to have when the Delta was around. So those are the basic symptoms. Sometimes many people feel like it is malaria-like, they have just malaria-like symptoms. Some may even have the actual bitterness in the mouth or loss of appetite in a way, and that may be Omicron. So what we advise is that if you have those symptoms, and especially if you did a rapid diagnostic test for malaria and it tested negative, or you even started treating malaria but you are not getting any relief, the next thing is to test for the COVID. And 90 or 99% of the time, it comes out positive. Right? My direct advice to the general public during this time, you realize that the weather has changed. We thought Harmattan was going, but it's come back. And therefore, the change in the weather is very conducive for the spread of the virus. And so I advise that everybody should take absolute precaution, especially when you're going out, be in your mask, have your social distancing, sanitize your hand if you do not have soap and running water available. But whenever you get to a point that there's water in the Veronica bucket with soap available, wash your hands thoroughly before you touch your mouth, your nose, and your eyes, and so that you do not get infected with the Omicron.
Welcome back from the break. So the first video you saw was of Madame Asla Owusu, Minister for Communications. That video was taken in 2020, I believe. She was just driving along, and she came across an MTN office where she felt that the social distancing protocols were not being observed. And you saw how upset she was, how she spoke to the people there, first of all, before she even, turned, her passion towards the managers of the office, and she eloquently, and I agree with her, spoke about following the protocol, social distance, and the impact it would have on, their health specifically and the health of the nation, overall, and all of that. Fast forward to now, when she's advocating for this re-registration process that now has double, and in some instances tripled that number in specific places, going through the same process. The question that I have then is COVID over? What does that say about our commitment towards fighting the pandemic? And so I, again, don't have the answer. So we've got the doctor, Dr. Adepa, medical officer, to speak to it. And he also says that, don't get it twisted, COVID is still here. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still around. It's taking, another form, but it's still just as active. Perhaps even more trickier, because now you think it's a common cold, but it's not. It's COVID. He's advocating for the centers to become vaccination centers. Interesting, Dr. Adepa. Very interesting. But yeah, would you like to share a thought or two on that?
Well, I think you're right, what you said. At the time that Esla spoke about, social distance, the need for social distancing and observing the protocol in 2020, she was right. And nothing has changed. In fact, we've seen more variants, as you've rightly said. So that call to action, that call to observe the COVID protocols must still be respected. Nothing should make us change that. So I think that she must still make that call rather than be silent on these long queues we are seeing, which we see there isn't much social distancing at most of those places. So that has to happen. Dr. Adepa Adapoy also spoke about perhaps maybe having vaccination cards, but that's something we need to press on with as a nation. We need to get people vaccinated. Those people who are vaccinated as of today, which is less than 10%, have only got the first vaccine. They don't even have the second dose, not to talk of the booster, and that will take some time. So those things are build-ups. These are now happening. Then number two, remember I talked about the Ghana card. Not everyone even has the Ghana card. So if we need to be vaccinated so that we are sort of fortified not to get as ill as we would have if we were not vaccinated, and if we must have the Ghana card in order to register and even dare to re-register, and we don't have it for 50% of our population, and 94% of our population all have SIM cards, how successful is this re-registration going to be?
It's doomed from the start.
Even the part one, it's an ongoing process.
It's doomed from the start.
It still needs people to get their Ghana card so they can even do the part one. And we're already into part two, where there are these difficulties. So clearly there is a need for a waiting period and to get some of the critical path things done. One, to have most people vaccinated so that they can even be out there, and we appreciate that they are standing outside. It's better than being inside, but they must get vaccinated. And two, that they must get the Ghana card as well. So we think that the timing is not quite right, number one, because you don't have all that you need to get registered and even re-registered.
Right.
Let's even deal with the part one of registering.
Right.
We don't have a problem with why it is being done, but the issue is that how that process is being done. It's unsound because of the legality test that we just discussed, and also it is disruptive to the citizens of Ghana, both for their health and for their wealth, because they leave their jobs to come and, productivity to come and do this. So I think that we need to go back to the drawing books, and for the concerned mobile network subscribers,
let's take it right there.
We want to just voice that out completely, that listen, there's no consensus on the law for re-registering, number one, and that on February 8th we expect most Ghanaians, because there will be some Ghanaians who will just not join this, but most Ghanaians, rational thinking Ghanaians, to come out strongly between the hours of 6 a.m. and 12 noon and not use their phones.
Let's say that again,
them on. They can turn the phones on between 6 and 12, but they should not. We plead with them not to use their phones, their mobile phones, between the hours of 6 a.m. to 12 noon on February 8th as a way of sending a clear message to the NCA that yes, you want to fight cybercrime, but this is not the way to do it. Putting our people's health at risk, creating lowered productivity by people just being in that line, and also putting out data where we are not sure. There's no assurance that that data will be truly protected whilst it's being validated against the NIA.
Okay, let's take it again, one at a time.
Yes.
One at a time.
Yes.
So we are saying that, of course, you've explained the rationale. Beautiful. That's right. I get that. Before we get to the protest, first of all, what are the demands of the group? What is the group demanding?
Okay, so there are three main demands that the group is making. Right. And the first one is that the NCA, who, as you rightly said, by the regulation of the LI, is the one who actions these things, we expect them that, considering the things I've just mentioned, the fact that we are not completely vaccinated, we are not even halfway vaccinated, and we also are not halfway gotten our Ghana cards. Half the population hasn't gotten it. Based on that, there should be a directive to stop this re-registration of SIM cards. The re-registration should come to an end for now, and let the part 1, which is just the online registration, go on. So we shouldn't hear of implications and repercussions after March 31st, but rather it should be an ongoing process. Number 2 is that when the courts have decided the appropriate legal framework that should be in place for this re-registration exercise, then we can work around whether we are using an app and how the scanning is done, and we can hear clearly from NIA how their validation process will take place. The third one, which goes to support what the NCA and the ministry wanted to start doing, which is to eliminate crime, is that this process of eliminating cybercrime must be within the law. So let's wait to hear what the judges will say. Let's find out what the consensus is on the legal framework to back this re-registration, so that we are sure that indeed we will resolve that issue within the legal the law, or the legal entity that we have in Ghana, and not outside that law. Because for now, lawyers have not come to an agreement whether the LI that we just discussed, LI 2006, is the one to go with for purposes of this re-registration. And one will then say, will that become the main document that will govern future re-registrations? No. We need to be clear on that. And the courts have to come out and give
make a determination. And also, is the LI enough to keep re-registering?
Exactly.
Right? I'm guessing.
As we go on and on, because new SIM cards will come out. Younger people will become 21 or 19 and get cards. So with the current process that we are seeing, as you go past some of the telco offices and so forth, clearly this is not the way Ghanaians treat their own. It is not fair. It is not right. We must treat our people properly. We must give them a chance to register legally and also under hygienic conditions. And when I say hygienic, I'm not talking about the past when it was just about sanitation, but COVID hygienic conditions. Because clearly there's no social distancing. For me, if I stand in that line for 2 hours, I'm going to get tired. The next thing you know, I'm sitting. I'm either sitting by the gutter, I'm tired, then I want to start buying a brown and Quartey. I want to start doing this. Sometimes I even want to start leaning on someone. You know, you are so tired, you're fatigued, and you start to wear down and break the protocol. So it's definitely not the way to go. We must find a better way of improving our digitization, to do it from the comfort of our home and do it properly. NIA already has the biometric of almost 50% of Ghanaians. Let's wait for them to get all of it. Because right now there's a rush on all fronts. There's a rush to get the Ghana card, and there is some rush to get the vaccination. I can't say that everyone is going for the vax, but there is also that, you know, for people to get that.
Well, at this point, let me remind you viewers that our text line is very active. Our text line and our WhatsApp line, very active. It's a live show, so feel free to send your views and your comments, you know, to either our WhatsApp line or our text line. Madam Mona Quartey is very ready and able to answer any questions that you have that you feel I haven't perhaps asked for you. So please do that. Now, the most obvious, the lowest hanging fruit for this protest would be, how feasible would it be, considering that presently our mobile phones are like blood. It's like blood, it's like oxygen to everybody. So how feasible do you think that
it will be? Okay,
Ghanaians would
be able to join us. So what we have asked for, concerned mobile subscribers. What we are asking for in this protest is that on February 8th, it's not the whole day, because we appreciate that by 3 o'clock or so, children are closing from school. Parents need to be in touch with drivers, with this. I mean, it's a critical time. The afternoon is a critical time. We looked at the hours that people use their phones a lot, and we realized that afternoon was the critical time. We may not be totally correct, but you have to choose a period. The important thing is that we were thinking about the people, and therefore we didn't say the whole day. That is ludicrous. We said the morning between 6 and 12. Keep your phone on, don't turn it off, but don't make calls and don't receive calls. Right. Of course, if you have an emergency and you can see that that's an emergency, you are not stupid. You will make the call. Right. You have to, but you will limit the calls. For example, I'll be calling you to chat about a pair of shoes or a bag that I saw in a shop yesterday. How sad. It has to be something critical, you know, for me to for that call to take place. Right. So we are just saying that let us show our concern. Let's find a way of voting with our ability to call or to receive calls to let NCA know that, listen, you are not ready for a re-registration, and we are not sure that you even have the legal backing to do that. Right. And in the circumstances, this may not be the right time to do that. Right. There are a lot of Ghanaians who don't have the Ghana card. What are they going to register with? Does that mean that they don't use mobile phones? You just said it. The mobile phone has become almost the bloodline for most people to do transactions, to purchase, to send salaries and wages, to go to market and all that. So we do need it, but at what cost? Right. At what cost? Right. You know, and this thing just needs to be done properly, and that's what we, the concerned mobile phone subscribers, are asking for. That let's do this properly. Let's not rush to get it done. So we hear that the worst that can happen is that we'll get blocked by 31st March. We could get blocked. We don't think that that's the way to go. And I don't think the telcos also want to just block SIM cards. You know, that is not the way to grab cyber theft. If today there's been a murder in this house, they're not going to grab all of us and stick us in jail and let us out one by one based on evidence or based on whatever. They will look for the most likely person and start to deal with that. So for all of us to be held captive to this cyber crime,
as if we are not the victims,
as if we are not the victims
of the cyber crime already.
So please, we are asking that this thing should be done in a much more less disruptive way, and based on proper legal framework, which we'll find out soon. So those are our 3 demands. And on February 8th, we hope that most people will turn on their phone, but between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. they'll not make calls.
Don't make any calls. Don't receive any calls.
Yes, but in the afternoon they'll be free. That will be the first action in a series of actions.
Oh, we are going to come there, Auntie Mona. Please don't please hold on. I just want to bring in the viewers. That's the final.
The important people.
Right. Let's bring the viewers in. This one says, "Good evening, Amma. Thank you for this topic and your guest, Auntie Mona. Can you imagine I skipped work just to get my registration done? And I got to the MTN office at Dan Suman before 8 a.m. and I still couldn't get my registration done. I came home very disappointed, wasted my whole day for nothing. NCA should please do something about this. Ni Ivan in Dansuman." Thank you so much, Ni Ivan in Dansuman, for sending that in. Now let's go to Facebook.
I think it's nice to hear that people are even just pleading. I mean, it's not like a threat and order, and it's just a plea. That, listen, let's do this in an easier way.
Right. This one says, "Best TV station in Ghana so far. God bless you all." This from Rahman Abdullahi. Molly Enim Ado says, "Very educative. Believe we have a long way to go with the populism. We need cooperation between the telcos and especially those who want to register and are not being attended to." Suleimani Abdul Rahim from Tamale says, "Your guest is full of wisdom, and on that day, February 8th, we would do exactly what she has told us to do. Thank you so much. This one says, good evening, Amma. This whole thing about a deadline here and there doesn't make any sense, knowing that some people are still waiting for the NIA to print their cards.
That's right.
Just draw your attention to something. Do you see the speed with which the president tweeted about the explosion disaster? Keta and Ketu didn't get even a tweet. Okay, so you just killed one bird with two stones.
Yes, but I want to also ask your permission to use your podium to send out our heartfelt condolences to the families who've lost some of their people in this explosion at Apietu and on the way to Bogoso. We really are grieving with them, and for those who are injured, we pray that they will be healed and they'll go back home to their families soon. But this is a real national disaster, unfortunately.
Right. And this hits home for you.
It hit home for me. It hit home for me because the explosives are mining explosives, and I'm sure a lot of care was taken to try and get them to where they were going. But as we know, our motorcycle drivers, patience, we beg you. Have patience.
There's actually a question here for you on that from Sena.
That's fine.
Sena Nombo, host of Alaji and Alaji. His issue has to do with the van in question and the fact that it was conveying explosives to a mining site. And if you have any comments.
Well, that is valid. Explosives is a major component in the mining process, in the to be able to break ore and get the ore up for processing. So that is a consumable that is used by the mining companies, and the van was on its way and doing what it should do, and it has all its insurances and permits, I'm sure. But what happened, from what we are reading tonight, is that the van was crossed by a motorcycle rider, on a motorcycle, and we it's tough, but honestly, especially within the city, the way the motorcyclists just weave, go through the red, come by your side, you're on your blind side, it's really tough. I wish that they would also behave like us vehicle drivers, and let's all be compliant. Let's all just be compliant in terms of the road safety rules and regulations. It's very important for all of us. Motorcycles, bicycles, big trucks, small cars, once you are plying on the road, obey and observe the rules and regulations, because you trip someone up. This is what has happened to this van driver, and now we have this major catastrophe. And perhaps we haven't yet been told the motorcycle rider and the driver of the van may have lost their lives as well, and these lives are important to our nation, Ghana. So it's really sad.
Terribly sad.
To the families.
Terribly sad. Okay, so now let's get to the climax of this conversation. What are the other planned activities beyond the 8th February No Calls Day and protest? Are there any other planned activities?
So the planned activities are going to include, but not exclusively, there'll be more as we go along, because it will unfold. I mean, first of all, if there is a reprieve before February 8th, then there won't even be the calling, the no calling between 6 and 12. But if there isn't, then indeed it will go ahead on February 8th between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. The subsequent actions will be longer wait periods. So it won't be 6 to 12, but it may now be 6 to 2, or it may change time, but the hours will become longer. We'll continue to voice our opinion. We'll continue to put forward our case that please wait till we have a conducive environment where more people have the Ghana card, and more people have been vaccinated, and all this is done within the context of sound legal backing, not without a consensus. It must have a proper legal backing, and we must hear from the judges on this. So you will continue to hear in the media, on social media and in mainstream media, and we will continue to run these no-call days for a couple of hours within the days. It will persist until there is a better and safer way of doing this registration.
Oh, why did you delete the message? I was just about to read it. I was just about to read your. In fact, I stopped, just to come in and read your message. And I see that you've deleted the message. Unfortunate. Number ending 106. Send your message again. I'll read it. It looked interesting. I'm not going to skip your message. Anyway, okay. So definitely we are having. Sorry, let me read this last one before I ask my last.
Just
question.
before you read that, I
Sure.
must just to let viewers know that we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, and we are on Instagram. And of course, as for WhatsApp platforms, many are bound to have discussions. But we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And therefore, you can join. You can sign the petition. The petition is a very strong tool to make sure that those who must hear that this must be done properly. So go online, go onto social media, sign the petition as well. And let's get our leaders to listen to us and listen to the people's voice.
Okay, so you're speaking the same language as this texter. He says, I wish the leaders of this nation will watch this program. At least they should reason with us for once. This is not a proper way to do SIM registration. I think they should go for the data for the Ghana card and register those who don't have the Ghana card. You didn't add your name, but Madam definitely agrees with you. Okay, I see other messages, but you guys are not staying on topic, so I can't. They are talking about how beautiful you are and
please.
So because for that one we already know. So if you could tell us something about this registration.
Yeah, let's make sure that on February 8th between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. we don't make calls and we don't receive calls.
Absolutely.
Just to send the protest out. Our voices must be heard.
Okay, right. So, I mean, okay, I'll reserve that question for our next conversation on this issue. I'm going to reserve this one because I'm really eager to see how this turns out. I think it would be so great because we are not, as Ghanaians, we are not used to protesting any other way but through demonstration. It's the one way we know.
We are not demonstrating.
Right.
We are. Well, you could call it a demonstration, but it's a non-violent demonstration. We are just
a non-physical demonstration.
We are just protesting the manner in which this thing is being done, and to make sure that it's done with the proper legal backing. It's so that Ghana continues to be the beacon for Africa in terms of democracy, in terms of governance, in terms of being law-abiding. I mean, both sides of the divide of this argument are all educated people, there's no doubt. But everyone has a different perspective. And it's good for us to jojo and talk about these things. I'm sure we'll find a common ground. But we must make our voices heard. I think those days of just allowing policies to come and you just follow blindly is over. We need to question some of these things and perhaps improve the policy, as may happen in this situation where we'll have a better number of Ghana cards issued, and then we will also have the vaccinations more widespread, and there will be a proper legal backing for re-registration. This is going to continue. I don't think it will be one time.
No, it won't.
More and more people will get SIM cards. So you will register, and you have to re-register to validate.
Right. And I think this is great, literally to hold, not to sound personal, but we are in the era of digitization, we are told. We are in the era of,
we shouldn't erode the gains we've made so far.
Right.
We should press on with that. We should continue to enjoy it. I mean, it speaks to the issue of inclusivity. Letting everyone, because this will take some people out. It's going to kick a lot of people out. Those who don't have Ghana cards are going to be kicked out. They can no longer participate in this cashless society, which is a big item for Ghana. I mean, this government has been such a champion of this cashless society, the central bank, all the banks. It makes sense. It makes sense even to fight crime. You are better off not having cash on you. You are better off having either a mobile money or mobile wallet, or being able to transfer money easily. But we are seeing that some of these gains are getting eroded with some of the policies that are coming up. But indeed, as Ghanaians, and we all loving Ghana, we should discuss and make Ghana a better place.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam. Thank you so much for your time. But just to recap, on the 8th of February,
correct,
8th February 2022,
correct,
we are having a no calls day from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m.
12 noon. Let's put it that way.
12 noon. No calls day.
No calls.
Don't make calls.
Receive.
Don't receive calls.
Yes.
I'm so grateful.
Except if it's an emergency.
Right.
Because we are human.
Right.
And if it's an emergency, sure. But if it's not, let's register our protest of the way things are being done.
Right. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
So
Mama.
grateful. So grateful. So this has been our show this evening. Do not forget, the main takeaway from this is, I mean, in addition to everything else that I'm sure you're taking with you, the legality issue with the SIM card registration, the issue of waiting for the court's determination, the fact of disenfranchisement, if that's
exactly.
if I could even call it that. There's also that, then there's of course there's COVID-19 and all the health implications. This is not we saying, this is Madame Oslo Usu, Minister of Communications saying. So all of these issues come up, and all of these issues end in a protest that's scheduled for the 8th of February 2022, called No Calls Day, where we don't make calls, we don't receive calls. We can keep our phones on from 6 to 12 in the afternoon, just to show that as Ghanaians, we are citizens and not spectators. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Okay. Yeah.